I like trains.
Well, I sure hope you do. Hello everyone and welcome back to the video. Today we are going to learn how to create, control and automate trains in Create. We're going to see how every single block and item work, and I'm going to explain you in detail what they do. So without further ado, let's get started. Before you can make a train, you probably want somewhere to place it. This is where the train track comes in. You can place it in 3 different ways in your world. Normally, in diagonal, and if you have a block in front of it when you place it, upward. Now you're probably thinking that one single rail is boring and won't get you anywhere. And to solve this issue, all you have to do is to place a train track in front of the train track. Crazy, I know. So now that you can place multiple train tracks one behind another, you just made a railroad. Now only going forward is a bit boring, so what if we want to try to go in another direction? Well, and lucky enough, controls your Minecraft, you can just place 2 train tracks next to each other and hope that they connect. What you're going to do is right-clicking on a train track while having a train track in your hand. That way, you will enter in the train track edit mode. While in this mode, there are 3 things you need to know. The long green line are where your rails will end up when you place it. The green square underground are where you can place your rail, and the red one are where you can't place them. So this way you can place a lot of train tracks in one single go. Now what if you want to turn? Well, go in edit mode and then turn your camera in 2 different angles. The first one is 45 degrees. This way you will end up making a rail in diagonal. The second one is a complete 90-degree angle. Turn your camera the same way, find a spot where you can place it, and right click. You can also make simple S-bend by making the rail still go in the same direction, but by moving it a bit to the right or the left. When you're making a rail, if you want to look behind you to see what happened, you can make a complete 180-degree turn, and now you have the ability to place the rail the normal way while actually seeing what you're doing. This also works on a 45-degree angle and 90-degree angle. Now that we can see what we're doing, there is a special key, as you can see at the bottom of our screen, that let me go into maximize turn mode. So the difference between maximize turn mode and the normal one is that instead of making the smallest possible angle that the rail can do and then place a lot of normal rail behind, the game will try to make one entire single angle. So to explain a bit better, I'm going to go a bit further and I'm going to make a normal angle and a maximize turn one. Now you can see from above the difference between the 2 angles. One of them is more direct while the other is more clean. Something you need to know is that the rail, while they're in bend, are not actually a block. If you break them, it will break the entirety of the bend. This is why you probably won't prefer using non-maximize angle, as if you break them, all of the rails that have been placed behind will stay there. So now you can go forward, left and right, but what if I want to go up or down? Well, all I need to do is place a rail down and simply connect it to a point upward. Now the issue right here is the slope is too steep, so I can manually solve this issue by adding a few blocks. Now I can see that in the green area, I just need to add one more block and I will be done. So here you go. Now you know exactly how to place the rails. So you may have noticed that the rail don't need any support to be placed down. However, if you want to solve this issue, because it may look ugly for you, the next time you're going in edit mode, place a block in your off end, and when you place a rail, it will automatically fill up all the block below the rails. You can place rail on top of each other, and as you can see, it can get pretty messy, but train will still work as long as they don't collide with each other. So, now that we have a track, we can finally build our train. To build a plane, we need a minimum of 3 blocks. A train station, a train casing, and train controls. The first thing you're going to do is go into train edit mode. For this, right click with the train station. I'm going to go back on this block later. On the rail, in the direction you want your train to be built. In this case, the train will be facing this direction, but any length added to the train will be going backward. Next, you can place your train station anywhere as long as it's near to the rail you've placed on it. Now, if you right click on it, you will get this button on the middle, create a new train. Let's do this. So you'll be prompted with this UI that tells you a bit on how to create the train. It will tell you to use the train casing on the highlighted track, which is these blue things on the rails, and this will be able to create a bogey. So to make a bogey in creative, I can do a simple right click on it. However, if you're in survival, you have to use a train casing. One train casing for each bogey. After you build it, you can also change the style by doing a right click on the train track. You can also add more bogey if you want to make your train bigger. If you have two bogey, you have two choices. The first one is to connect each of them together to make one single train. You can only make a train with two bogey. You can't add another one. I don't think I need to explain it. However, if you don't build any connection between them, they will be connected with chain, so they can rotate freely and they will only follow one another. So the buggy start with two sticky sides. Obviously, if we want to make a bigger train, you're going to be using something else like glue. But in my case, I just want to make the smallest functional train. And for this, we're going to be using the train controllers. The train controllers will work in the direction you've placed them. In this case, I've placed the train controller looking in this direction, which means that the train controller will be working in this direction. Once the train is ready to be made, you can do right click on the train station once again and click Assemble Train. Once the train is made, you will see the train control change a bit. If you want to try out the train, simply do a right click on the train controls and you can now drive it. So this was an easy tutorial on how to build a train, so we're going to need a bigger track to do a bit more. So here I have an example on how the buggy connect to each other. So now I have connected these two buggy using super glue, but this one is not connected. So now if I try to make the train, it will tell me that the assembly is failed and that there is no structure attached to buggy 3, which is this one. And that's simply because Create refused to make a train when a buggy is not attached to anything. If I just add one single block behind, now I can create the train. So as you can see, when the buggy are not connected to each other using glue, they will be chained together. So now if I drive the train, you can see that the first two are connected to each other and moving the tracks that I'm on, but the other one is moving freely and is just following me. Great! So now you know how to make train tracks and you also know how to make trains. The last step before we go to automation is going to be how to drive a train. So as you already know, to drive a train, all you have to do is right click on the train control, and if you go forward, you will go forward, and if you go backward, you will go backward. Also, the train control don't go in the direction that you're looking, but in the direction that you've played them. Which means that if I look back and press forward, the train will continue to go forward. This is because I've placed the train control in this direction when I've made the train. So now, when I go forward, I will go forward in his direction. When you are at an intersection, you can simply press left or right to choose the direction you want to go. If I go left, I will go left. And when you press nothing, it will go in the direction that the first rail have been created. When you're driving, you can probably see that sometimes the train will go at extreme speed. If you want to slow it down, instead of having to manually press forward and let it go, you can use the scroll wheel to simply change the max speed that the train can go. If you take a look at the bottom of my screen, I can control the max speed of the train. You can go lower, but you will never go higher. And the last thing you need to know about the train is when you're near a station, and also depending on your speed, you will see the message at the bottom, hold space to approach your certain station. When you're pressing space, the train will go in automate mode and I don't have to touch anything. It will automatically adjust the speed, stop itself, and connect to the train station. Congratulations! You know how to drive a train in Create. So now all you need to do is to throw all of this knowledge to the trash because we're going to automate it. So if you want to automate your train, you have two choices in front of you. The first one is to use a seat of any color, obviously, and having a mob on top of it to control the train. The other one is to use a simple blaze burner, which has the advantage to not be an entity, so you won't die or being thrown away in case of an incident. But no matter which way you choose, you're always going to be needing this item, the train schedule. So if I rebuild my train, place a seat on it, reassemble it, and place my pig on it using a leash, I now have a pig driver. So all I have to do is to explain to you how the train schedule works. When right-clicking it in the air, you will be prompted with this UI. By pressing the little plus, you will, well, add an action. In Create, you will have 5 different actions. Travel to station, which simply travel to the ask station. Deliver a package, which I'm going to explain in the next video, as well as retrieve package. Update scheduled time. I have absolutely no idea what this one does. And limit max speed, which simply limits the max speed. I've already told you how this works. This time it's for automation. So if I want my driver to go to maybe West Station and then go back to the center station where I'm right now, I can press OK. And now you have to right click on the driver. So it could be any mob, in my case it's a pig, or it could also be your blaze burner. Once right click it, the driver will instantly go and follow his schedule. Now all I have to do is to wait 5 seconds because it was a condition, and it will come back to us. If you want to take away the schedule, right click with an empty end, and you get it back. So you also have the condition. The way they work is after the conductor has finished the first action, it will wait for the condition that you give before going to the next station or next order. To change it, all you have to do is click on it and you will be prompted with the same previous UI. This time, we have a lot more to choose. The first one is schedule delay, which will just wait a certain amount of time, in seconds, ticks, or minutes. The second one is time of the day. Instead of waiting a certain amount of time, you will wait for a specific time. The next one is a fluid cargo condition. You can place fluid tanks on train and you can fill or empty them. Using this condition, you can wait until you have more than a certain amount of buckets, less than a certain amount of bucket, or exactly a certain amount of buckets. The next one is item cargo condition. It's just the same time as the fluid, but with item. The only difference is that you can choose between item and stacks. After that, we get redstone link. If I place a redstone link on the floor and give him a certain frequency, if I give the exact same frequency in the train schedule, the pig will stay at the station until I give him the redstone signal with the same frequency. And I could also change it on not powered, which, as you may have guessed, simply does the same thing, but when it's not powered. Next one is player seated. This one is because you can transport player or entity in your train using seat. You can choose a certain amount of player, and you can also choose if you want exactly this certain amount or above. For example, if I want my train to only go when one person is inside, if I'm waiting at the station and the train arrives, it will not go until I sit down. Then we get cargo inactivity. Contrary to item cargo condition, which will wait until there is a certain amount of item or less, this one will wait until there is no difference in the number of cargo. For example, if there's 5 items and then 5 seconds later there is 6 items, the train will not go. But if the certain amount of item is the same after 5 seconds, the train will go. So I've modified the train and I've added an item interface as well as a chest. And on this other station, I've made this absolutely beautiful structure that's filled up with redstone. So normally what's going to happen is that the cargo inactivity will wait 5 seconds after the redstone has finished to flow down. So normally we will see the redstone go down inside the train, and once it's done, it will wait 5 seconds before going. The train is coming. Interface connects with each other. And if we look inside the chest, it's slowly emptying. And the train is not going. But once it's done, after 5 seconds, the train will go away. So this method is very useful because if you have a slow filling chest, even when one single redstone is going very slowly inside, the train will wait until absolutely nothing happened for more than 5 seconds. After this one, we have chunk unload, which simply means that the train will only go if the chunk is unloaded. And the last one will wait until the station is powered. So just like the redstone link, but instead of using a link, it will wait for redstone directly input in the train station. So unluckily enough, you can't call a train using this technique because you can only make the train go when you receive a redstone signal. But if you're only using 2 stations like I do, you can always simply use a redstone link. So now we're done with all the conditions, but you can also stack them in 2 different ways. The first one is by placing add condition below. In this case, for example, the station will wait 5 seconds and no matter what will not go. But after those 5 seconds, the second a player seat in the train, it will go. This means that when I give the schedule and instantly sit, nothing happened. But if I sit away, the 5 seconds have passed, and now if I sit back down, it instantly go. But what if instead I want to wait that someone sit down and then wait a few seconds if, for example, some of their friends are following? Well, all I have to do is to make players seated 1 or above, and then place a condition to wait 5 seconds below it. This way, if you sit down, the train will wait 5 seconds before going away, which let time for other people to come in. You can also use alternative condition. If, for example, I set the alternative condition to be item cargo below 10 items and set it up, I have more than 10 items, but if I sit down, it will go. And if I take item until there's less than 10, even though I'm not sit down, so now I have took all the redstone from the train, which means that there is less than 10 items. And because of that, it's not even waiting for me to sit down. You can add a lot of condition and you can also add a lot of alternative condition. And the best is that you can add more condition for the alternative condition. The other button you need to know on the train schedule is right click to delete condition. Use the arrow to move up or down the different jobs that you've give to the conductor. Loop forever, which is enabled by default and means that when he's finished on his last job, it will return back to the first one. And if you untoggle it, once he's done with all of the job, he will simply stop and wait to his last station. Reset progress, which if you have an issue with your train schedule, you can simply reset everything to go back to the first job, and skip current job, which is also used to debugging in case you have problem with your train schedule. It will simply skip the current job and go to the next one. And the last button is duplicate, which, as you may think, simply duplicates a job, condition, and alternative condition. Well, I've done some tests and I still have no idea how this thing work. I'm very sorry. Anyway, the last thing you need to know is when you place the schedule directly on the train station, any train that stops in the station will be given the train schedule. Now it's an actual copy, which means that the item doesn't exist, but the schedule is very real. And yes, you can automate it. Now I just have one last thing to tell you before we can continue to the more complex stuff. If you have a station and you place it in the opposite side of a train, for example, if you drive a train to this station, the train will not detect it because you're going into the opposite direction. Well, this issue also happens if you try to automate it. The simplest way you can solve this issue is simply by placing another train control on the other side. Also, you need to be sure that the train control are right next to the seat or the blaze burner. However, the mob or blaze burner won't be able to use them. Now that's done, if I give my train schedule to the pig once again, he will be able to use the other train control. And now, can stop to the station. Now, as you can see, this causes an issue because the train is in the opposite side. And just like with my previous construction, if the train is in the opposite side, you probably won't be able to connect to the storage interface. When you're using a map on a station, you will be able to save them on the map. You can also rename the station as well as the name of the train. And they will keep this name permanently until you completely destroy it. So now let's get to the fun part. Crash test. Now, unluckily enough, we're not able to do this type of crash test simply because trains can go through blocks. Now, it's not an issue if you're using a blaze burner, but if you're using it something else, it might broke your train. So here I have two trains scheduled who all go to the same station at the same time, and if I give it to the two blaze burner at the same time, they will crash with each other. To end your crash, you can use a wrench to move back your train. And also you can do this. No, don't go again! Take the train schedule before replacing them, okay? So as I was saying, if you right click with a wrench on the train, you have the ability to move it. And you can use this whenever you want, but you can go infinitely far away. At some distance, you won't be able to place it. So if you don't want this problem again, we can use this block. The train signal. When you're holding the train signal, you will see a yellow line that indicate the path of the train tracks. If I do right click to place it and then place a block right after it, you will see this green line. This means that the train signal have understood that these two are two different paths. If I place another one right here, I have a second green line, which means that they also understand that these two are different. So normally the train signal should know that this is one single track, this is another one, and this one is the third one. However, you also know that this track cannot be occupied by two trains at the same time. So, if the two trains try to go on the same track, it will stop them. If I give back my train schedule to the two of them, you can see that the train will stop and wait at the train signal. The second that I take the train away, the track becomes free and the train can continue its route. The train signal also have three redstone uses. The first one is when you place an exit tube on top and a train go on it, it will become red. The second redstone use is when using a redstone comparator. The train signal, when turned on, will send a redstone signal. Its last use is that if it's powered by redstone, it will automatically go on, which means even that there is no train on the track, if I try to send one, the train will stop until I cut the redstone signal. This can be useful if you're doing reparation on the track and don't want a train to go through you. So here I have a little bit more complex system. Here I have this train that go from station west back to station east. And I have my train and I would like to go from station north to station south. So I'm going to sit down and give the train schedule. And the train managed to stop correctly. Everything worked fine. But now I have a much bigger problem. The train has stopped at station south, and it's taking away the space for my train to go. So now, when I give the train schedule, my train will go, but will get stuck in the middle, and thus stopping my train that was going back and forth on this rail. So there is actually not much issue. Once this train will go away, this one will be able to go forward, and this one will continue his way. But if this train is more important than the other one and always need to have his space free, we're going to find another way to let this happen. We're going to give the normal train signal for important train, but for the least important track, we're going to use a wrench to transform the train signal into a brass train signal. Now, if I place a normal train signal back again, our train right here will be able to move freely. And if I ask my friend the Blaze to go to the other station, he won't move. And that's because when you're using the brass train signal, the train coming from the brass train signal will not go through this blue line unless it will be able to go instantly to the other side. In this case, if I take my train and move it away, the space behind is free, so we know it will be able to instantly go through, and that's why it was done. The only one last thing you need to do about the train signal is when you place it on the opposite side, train won't be able to go through. You can solve this by simply placing another one in the opposite direction, and the train will be able to go through once again. The last block is called the train observer. If a train drives above it, it will emit a redstone signal. You can use a filter slot on its top, and yes, it's a filter slot, so you can place a filter instead of singular item to only send redstone pulse when the train have the asked item inside. In this case, it didn't send any redstone pulse, but if I add redstone in the chest, now when the train goes through, it will make a redstone pulse. That was everything for this video. I hope you've enjoyed and learned new stuff. Next time, I will finally be able to explain to you the latest Create update. So, thanks for watching, and I hope I can see you in the next video. Goodbye.